Hi, thanks for joining the SG Child Show today. I'm so excited to have Jennifer Kaufman. We've just kind of started the conversation and her energy is just so soft and friendly and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about grandparenting on the spectrum and how we can not only support what you're doing and the cause and the mission, but also, learn more about how you are navigating, on that side of the United States and see how things are working. So thank you so much for being here today, Jennifer.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Why don't you give us a little introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just jump right into this.
Sure. So, where do I begin? I up until recently, because I don't want to call it retired, but I just sort of moved into a new realm in my career where I am doing this autism advocacy work full time. But up until recently, I was a principal at a school for children with autism through age 21.
Wow.
And I am also the grandmother of an 8-year-old who is on the spectrum. And so I wrote a book about the experience from both sides of the desk. It's called Grandparenting on the Spectrum, a journey from both sides of the desk, because professionally, I've got all this knowledge and experience, but personally, it was a different story. And there were a lot of surprises and there were a lot of shifting expectations that prompted me to write this book.
I hear that so much when I speak to professionals that have worked in the field and then are impacted personally in their family, and just that, wow, this is not this is not how I remember it. This is totally a different animal, if you will. And being able to really see things, in the shoes, walking directly in the shoes of someone. And especially as a grandparent, I think it's just commendable and honorable of you for you to help navigate the, unexpectancy, the isolation that it can come from a diagnosis when you possibly haven't been exposed to that in your family before. So that's really just such a special place. And just thank you as a mom.
It is my privilege.
My kiddos don't have such a special relationship, so when I see it and hear it, I take it more personally and more honor than most, I think.
Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about kind of that, your journey in the professional side. We'll go there, and then we'll kind of, go into the experience and how it changed everything. When did that start for you, and how did you end up getting into that kind of a job?
Oh my gosh. Well, I had always wanted to be a teacher. I mean, I was little, and I used to have little books about teaching, and I wanted to be a teacher. So then as an adult, I went and I got my degrees and I started teaching. Technology was always a huge focus for me because I'm a bit of a computer geek myself. And I went from teaching 8th grade and 10th grade English classes, and that became teaching computer classes. And I started looking at it and learning about assistive technologies that help to support learners who needed that support. And I used to explain to my kids, my students, that, you might need a program to help you read a book because maybe your eyes aren't communicating with your brain in the same way that your friends are, but it says nothing about your intelligence. Yeah. And I would say to them, I wear reading glasses. It says nothing about my intelligence. It just shows that my eyes don't talk to my brain and the 100% either. So from that, I started supporting teachers and using assistive technologies. And I really liked having that kind of impact in a broader sense. Yeah. And that prompted me to go get my principal's certificate. And I went and I did that and found myself working in special education schools, kids with all sorts of challenges, medical issues, but autism kept springing up. And I seemed to be have been gravitating towards the neurodiverse student populations. And I found myself a number of years ago with this opportunity to work at a school for kids with autism. And it was just something that I jumped at, and something that, I found myself working with just absolutely brilliant minds, people who knew how to work with kids with autism and how to get them ready for life beyond school. And it really, it changed me. And then when my grandson was diagnosed, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it just sort of all came together in what I thought was a beautiful way, because I was bringing so much knowledge. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But little did I know there were mistakes that were going to be made, because it's one thing to have all the knowledge, but when you have somebody in your family, and when it's your daughter's child, she's not necessarily looking for a school principal. She's looking for her mom. Right.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was all about shifting expectations. And that's what I write about in my book.
Yeah. Building a framework in a school and building a framework at home are totally different.
Absolutely.
They have different aspects, different goals, different measured, kind of success along the way and challenges. And so that makes sense that you're like, I'm ready. And then, you kind of dive deep down and you're like, wait, now I'm really in the deep end and I am not quite sure that I was ready for this. But
I sort of got to that point where, of course, I'm going to go to the IEP meeting. And my daughter was like, no, you don't have to go. I was like, what? and realizing, she wanted to be mom at the IEP meeting. And that's what I needed to support versus I need to go to the IEP meeting. Right.
Well, and how interesting you would have said shifting perspectives, not probably realizing your own were also going to have to shift in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about that, because I think that's a huge thing, is that when humans in general, I don't think are, we don't come with all the knowledge for a situation at hand. And sometimes when we're faced with those situations, it can be daunting. It can be overwhelming. It could feel like a negative experience rather than a positive experience moving forward. Mm-hmm. And how do you think do you kind of help parents or in that situation really understand that change of perspective? Because that's a hard one to address with people.
Sure. And what I really looked at was, what is a grandparent? Mm-hmm. Grandparents go into this experience with all sorts of expectations of their own, expectations based on raising their own kids. And I have all this knowledge. I raised my own children to adulthood. Grandparents have expectations based on what they know of a grandparent. Maybe they had a lovely, warm grandma who they baked cookies with, or a grandpa who they're out playing ball with, or vice versa. And so they come into the experience with all these expectations and what they're going to look like as a grandparent, what they're going to be like. And those expectations sort of need to be tossed out the window and changed and shifted and adjusted to meet the situation that is the reality versus what they want,
It's really hard even today. It's been 16 years in our own experience. And I don't know that I've ever asked that directly. Could you please throw out all of these expectations and just look at the reality? And that's a really great, kind of challenge, if you will, that, I'm going to think about, because it's so hard when you are in a family dynamic and other outside members, or even, neighbors, church members, work members don't understand and make judgments or just have their own idea of what your unordinary life looks like. Because let's just say that for sure. I kind of always joked that the corners in my house are round and not corners because it doesn't make sense for us. Like, we don't have pointy corners, we have round, and that's not true. But it's like, it's kind of what it's like. Like, our life does not look quasi normal, if you will, the dryer setting. It actually looks very, very colorful and very full of life in every way. And I think that it's something that we're learning to teach how to embrace so much better.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great to hear, because a grandparent who understands the need to shift their expectations and to follow a parent's lead versus, inserting themselves into the picture can really be a game changer.
Yeah.
Can really be a game changer. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that's, happening for you guys. Absolutely. And it also, the relationship the intention that you put into building that relationship as a grandparent with that individual. I really think that is something so sacred and so has to be so meaningfully done. And I don't think people value that and I shouldn't say that. In my life, I'm not finding that the people around me value that as much as I feel like it should be valued. So I love, organizations like your own, where it is really pulling the whole idea that it takes so much more than just mom, dad, and some siblings to help navigate to when you have multiple children on the spectrum at home, like ourselves. And my husband and I are late diagnosed. Our children, helped us get to this journey. They helped us see where we were at that we couldn't see before. It's just such a beautiful thing. And so I hope that in going forward, I will always just be willing and open to get to know the individual, no matter what their, life looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. I also say to grandparents and other family members that you can be there as a support system, but actually offer the support, and listen to what is needed. Yeah. And sometimes somebody thinks that they have good intentions and they're offering the help, but they're not, like, they're putting the onus on the parent to tell me what you need so that I can do it. Like, truly be engaged as a family member and look at the situation and say to yourself, like, these people haven't gone out together alone in months. And maybe saying, hey, Friday night, bring your kids over to me, and you just go out and don't even give it a second thought, or stay overnight, or, whatever is needed. Hey, I'm in the grocery store. What can I pick up for you? Like, just that simple phone call, to be proactive and to be there and offer yourself as that resource. It can be a tremendous help to a parent who's struggling day to day, right? You're dealing with it every single day. So
I absolutely wish I had that. But in our journey, are lucky to have siblings, and a kind of friend of one of our children has just come into our life and really almost taken the burden off of us. And we've, in the first time in 16 years, have been able to go out together. And we know that everything's okay at home, that this extra person who has had no experience prior to has entered with their whole heart and just blown us away in kindness and just like humanity, and just really like you said, just kind of giving us this like, wow, like we can go through a drive-through together. Are you kidding? Like, we can go, like, I love to bird watch, so we'll go take my binoculars and stuff and go look at some birds. But it's been decade. It's been over a decade. Decade and a half. That's a lot of time that has been sacrificed, and not in a bad way, like a, bad sacrifice.
Given, like a gift.
Truly. Yeah. So we definitely like take advantage, don't take it for granted, but take advantage of when we can. Take
how different is it? Like somebody saying to you, hey, let me know if you need anything versus go bird watching. I've got it. Like Saturday morning, go bird watching.
Oh
We're
my
here.
gosh. It's like reliving again. Literally, it's like getting ourselves back to, who we were, because it's been 22 years and I think we deserve a little break together once in a while to remember what we've been putting all this time in for. So yeah,
important.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and so when you started writing the book, let's talk about kind of your verb, like what got you going on why people needed this information.
Well, I was actually looking for this kind of information, but I just didn't find it. I mean, there were clinical guides, and this is not a clinical guide. This isn't going to help you figure out a diagnosis. This is just sort of me sitting down at the coffee table with you over a cup of tea and just talking about my experience and talking about, the fact that providing your opinion, even though you as a grandparent have raised kids and you have a lot of knowledge, but providing those opinions when they're not really asked for is a problem, because parents of neurodiverse autistic children, they are receiving opinions from the grocery store cashier, from their pediatricians, from the internet, from friends, and their mom, their dad. That's the last person they just want an unsolicited opinion from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can really be such a learning experience too when you have like an extra person to go, on a vacation with. There definitely were a couple times where we were able to take just kind of a trip to a local place and we have, that, and grandma came and you have that extra hand, just like knowing that someone's going to be there. But at the same time, like, you have to definitely have, I guess, as a parent, and I love what you're saying about you need to listen and really like respect the family's kind of flow. If it's not something that you agree with, like stopping it is more harmful than allowing it and trying to watch or join.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you just have to be deferential to the parent of the child. Just like when you were raising your kids, you would wanted that same kind of respect. And it's funny that you mentioned vacations, because every year my daughter and I and her husband and my grandson, we go down to that land of the mouse in Florida. And the first couple of years, actually really in the first year, I got down there and I was struggling because I'm like, but I really want to go to that park, or I really want to go try that restaurant. And then again, it was through a process. I realized that this is not my vacation. I'm not on vacation and my daughter's on vacation. This is me being there as a support system. And once I shifted that focus and shifted those expectations, it made everything so much easier, because I realized how lucky I was to be there. And I realized that every moment being able to support them in their vacation was just sort of a gift back to me, because I just enjoyed it. And it wasn't, I could take my own vacations sometimes, but this was about being there for them. And every vacation since that one has been great.
Oh, I love that. No, I love the way you just like honored showing up for them. It's just, I hope that it happens more than I see. Please tell me it is public. No,
well, grab my book, and you could give it as a gift to Grandparents' Day. I believe is in October.
Okay,
give them a copy of the book.
And there's nothing wrong with giving a grandparent a book just because you want to give it to them.
There you go.
Grandparentingonthespectrum.com. is Jennifer's website and probably where you can find the book, if not on other sites that I'm sure that it exists.
Yes.
But please definitely go and get a copy, especially if you're a parent. If you're a grandparent listening, please, I would love to hear your thoughts and maybe write to me and let me know how it changed your relationship with your child, with your grandchild. I would love to know. And I'm sure that you hear those stories. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh. It comes back to me when people read my book and they make those shifts, and it's really exciting to hear, because I know how positive those shifts were in my relationship with my daughter and my grandson. I just got to spend the last Saturday just one-on-one with my grandson, and it was like the most wonderful thing. For as much as I love his mom and the whole family, it was just like magical. It was great. And there's just something about it that one-on-one time is just precious. And if you can evolve to that point where you've listened enough and you've learned enough and you're able to support your grandchild one-on-one, which is not always easy to do, it's a great goal to work towards. And it changes, right? The needs of an autistic person can change from day to day, and things that might be high value items, things that might be really, and activities that might be really things that we're looked forward to. Next week, it might be something completely different. And accepting that and like finding the fun in that and finding the joy in that, and not regretting, oh, what, we can't go to that park anymore? What do you mean? No, let's find something else magical to do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. It's so much healthier, and it just leads to nurturing such a positive relationship that is, showing especially that individual how much value and respect that you have for them and for their individuality, and not placing expectations of, like you said, oh, we can't go here. Oh, you don't like that kind of food, or whatever it might be. I think that's such a good reminder, because we're all just so individual. And I think that oftentimes we forget that the other party is on a completely different journey. They might be right next to us, but they're still on another journey, and being curious and like kind and loving about how you can join or be a part of that, rather than how you can help change their lives to be more comfortable for yourselves.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You have to really be tuned into where your focus is. Is your focus on your own wants, desires, happiness, all of that? Or is your focus in what's going to make you happy, to see the right kind of support being given to your grandchild? And if you can be part of that support, it's like I said, magic. It's like, I look at a lot of this as magic stuff that just happens, and that joy and then happiness when it works out is nothing is better than that.
Yeah. How are your, and I don't hope it's not too personal, but as far as like communication goes, is he speaking, non-speaking? Like, as what kind of communication support do you use?
So he was nonverbal for a long time. And then in the past few years, he started using a communication device, an AAC device, and his tablet went with him everywhere. His communication has developed to the point that last weekend, it was funny because he was like making us laugh. His name was like other family members, not his own name. And we had a ball, and he was laughing about that. And it just made me see that like that journey is happening, that growth is happening. And it's no state to my parents at school. Like, it's not a race to a common finish line. It's really just your unique journey and your grandchild's unique journey. And in terms of the learning, The communication as it develops is a nice thing because behaviors are communication. And when they have alternatives to acting out and they can tell you what's wrong or what they don't want to do or what they do want to do, those behaviors decrease, which is nice.
100%. No, and please listen to that, audience. Behavior is communication. I repeat, behavior is communication.
Yes,
So please be listening with all of the right parts, be watching, be curious. I think curiosity is such a key element to just lending a good guide to your individual. Being curious, like, what are they really into right now? What are they leaning towards, as far as their foods they're liking? Will they try new foods? My daughter can get her brother to eat anything. You know how many years we've been trying to get him to eat anything? Yeah. She's like, oh, try this. Oh, try this. Oh, try. And and he'll usually say, I'll save that for later. And he'll give it back to us. That means, no, I don't like it at all. But it's so great. And just this like incredible relationship that she gets to have with him. We get to see, we don't get to have that same type of relationship, but we are honored and so blessed to be able to see it, and see she's 2 years younger, but she's always been his big little sister, very eager to, kind of like you said. I think that she really just wants to be a mom someday. I always did too. I always wanted to be a mom. Kind of like you wanted to be a teacher. I just always was just knew I was an only child. So in my own heart, it was like, this is how I fulfill my life and not feel this lonely kid thing.
Right. Sure.
And it did. It is so fulfilling. It's the best, best part of my entire existence. And I'm so lucky to have learned and to be at this point where I love following their lead. I want to learn how to guide them by following them. And people might think that that's confusing or weird to say, but it's the coolest relationship that I never had, that I don't think that my oldest had the opportunity to have, because it was based off old parenting styles that came from far the past.
A little story that just happened not too long ago about following leads. I have a little shore house down at the Jersey Shore, and I was out on the deck, and the deck overlooks a water park of all things. And for years, my grandson goes out there, and he looks at the water park, doesn't really say much about it. He likes to go to the boardwalk or the beach. Never said a word about the water park. And I was alone with him last week, and I heard, "Let's go water park." And oh, okay. And the water park's really expensive here. I mean, it was, $45 for a day. But I said, and I didn't even know if he wanted to go to the water park for a whole day. We could walk in there and he could decide to leave. So I said, well, let's go to the water park. And we held hands and we walked across the street to the water park. And I went in and I said to the manager, I asked for a manager, and I said, hey, he's been looking at this water park for 4 years. Would you mind? He finally mentioned the water park. Would you mind if we just walked in and walked around? And they got someone to go accompany me. And the three of us, we walked around, and my grandson sort of splashed his feet in the water. He was very amused by all he saw. Yeah. And then we walked back out, and I said, do you want to go get your bathing suit? We can go back to the water park. No water park. Okay. And we walked back to my house and spent the rest of the afternoon doing something else. And it was wonderful. And I felt, it was such a success, and it was such a incredible thing. And he advocated for himself and said, no water park.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's where you find the magic, right?
And thank goodness, hands up to this water park people that let you go in and, because we here have a big amusement park, $100 a day to go.
Ugh,
And
mhm.
we got our kids season passes, our olders. And so it's been wonderful. Oh my gosh. But that's so interesting you said that, because we've been dropping them off every day. And he hasn't said anything. He hasn't said, when can I go to Lagoon? And nothing. There hasn't been any mention. And yesterday we drove through the parking lot a little bit closer to the rides where he could actually see people on roller coasters. And I noticed, him kind of taking stock of what was around him. And he never said anything. So we do have our family passes ready for that day he wants to go. But like you said, we don't know that it'll be just a walk around and walk out and get me back home, get me back, I got to get back on the internet, whatever, because he's 16. So, it's much more YouTube related, but yeah. So, but what a magical experience. And I'm just really proud of that. Like you said, New Jersey really does sound like a really great, supportive place of good resources and a community that really wants to help the autistic community thrive as a whole.
Yes, I shout out to New Jersey, because
Yep.
the resources and the support systems that are in place are really excellent.
I love that. And, for those of you who are listening, if you are in the New Jersey area and you don't know that you have resources available to you, Jennifer Kaufman is also there. You can go to grandparentingonthespectrum.com. I'm sure that there's a connect tab or somewhere if you want to connect with her. You're always welcome to reach out to me through the podcast at sjchildshow.com or gmail.com. Rather, don't forget that part. And, you can find me on my socials if you have any questions or want to reach out. It was so wonderful to get to know you more and to find out more about grandparenting on the spectrum. And I would love to get a copy for my family as well. So that would be fantastic. Very helpful and just a beautiful gift to grandparents and to your own daughter and son-in-law and grandchild as well. So thank you for all you do.
If I can leave you with one other thing and one shout out to the grandparents, if you can do it, if you can afford it, somehow get your grandchild swimming lessons.
Ooh,
I always end with this, because 93% of accidental deaths among people with autism involve water and drowning. So I want to say that statistic because it's such a shocking statistic. And if we can get our kids swimming lessons, that is a great start to preventing that.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that advice so much. And I couldn't agree more. My kiddos have had swimming lessons and,
Awesome.
My son knows how to float. It's the best thing he could know.
That is great. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes, me too. Me too. We started, and we were so lucky that we had a para from one of the schools that then worked at the community center near us, the community rec center. And she did one-on-one with my son. And then she was like, oh yeah, his little sister, of course. And so then the little sister got free lessons out of it. And she was so wonderful. They loved each other, it just made such a beautiful experience. And for maybe 3 summers in a row. So it was such a great thing.
That's good to hear. Good for you.
Yay. It was so much fun.
Thank you. Yes.
Jennifer, thank you. I really look forward to staying in touch with you. And I'm just so grateful for the journey that you've been on and the value you're sharing, resources and everything. So thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Sarah.
Empowering voices, meaningful resources, stronger connections. Be a part of it. This is the Neurodivergent Resource Podcast. Join us.